You're listening to Careers and Cocktails, career talk with a twist, hosted by expert recruiter Renee Frey. Let's get this party started.
Hey party people, welcome back to Careers and Cocktails. Today I'm thrilled to have Sarah Necklen with me, who is a human resource leader, and I'm sure she's going to share all the secrets and details about working with people, because we know I love people, and so we're going to find out if she does as well. So Sarah, your favorite wine is just a red blend.
Yep.
And tell me why.
Yep. I have been into red wine actually since I met my husband. And
Yeah?
This was in 1998. And one of our first dates, like before we actually went out, he said, come over for a glass of wine. And I wasn't a wine drinker at the time.
Yeah.
So I thought, ooh, what a classy guy. And it wasn't really that necessarily, but I thought, I've never really tried red wine. My mom was a white wine drinker. So I'd had that, but thought, I'll give this a try. So it was just wonderful. And so since then, it's been more Merlots, Cabernets, and things like that. But red blends go with everything.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of my go-to. And I'm not picky. So when I was talking with Renee about, hey, what should I have for you? I'm like, I'm open. So.
Yeah. So I picked an old vine red, which this is, they changed the label recently, but it's by Marietta Cellars. And this one is lot number 69, because this is an awesome, inexpensive red blend that I hope you're going to love. So let me give you some.
Okay.
And of course we have our Bordeaux Riedel glasses, because I'm obsessed with Riedel wine glasses.
They're beautiful and wonderful.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you a little bit about this blend.
Okay.
I believe it's a Californian. So let's cheers.
Cheers.
And then tell me how you like it.
Mm-hmm.
It smells delicious.
It's good. That's really good. No bite.
Yeah, it's predominantly Zinfandel, I believe. Mm-hmm. But it's a great, I can't even remember how much it was, but we get this a lot because a lot of people, it appeals to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And you can buy some super fancy red blends. We've bought some like Artemis and stuff, which is great. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this one is great to have around if you're having a party or bringing a bottle to someone's house.
That's great.
So Sarah, introduce yourself. Give us your elevator pitch.
Okay. I am basically involved in talent management for a very big privately held company, Cargill. Some people have heard of it, some don't know much about it. So
how many employees?
160,000 employees worldwide.
Yeah, it's huge.
So it's really big. And most people know Cargill just from a Midwest perspective. And, I'm from Minnesota and my family's from Wisconsin. So they're more familiar with Cargill from a kind of a grain and processing component. And globally, it's huge. So really only about a quarter of our employees are in the U.S. It's really, really big. Yeah. So, and that's part of why I've been there for so long. So I started with Cargill almost 15 years ago in recruiting.
Cheers to that.
I know, right?
15 years.
I would have never thought.
Right?
Yeah. So because earlier in my career, really, I did recruiting in lots of different places. Every couple of years would move. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, drink the wine.
Yeah, I know. It's so good.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. And so that's how I started in Cargill, and then moved into a talent management role, which was a project role at the time. And so been doing that in some way, shape, or form ever since. So in the last 3 years, I'm really in more of a specialty area for Cargill called talent performance.
Ooh.
I know.
Tell us more. It sounds very sexy, talent performance.
It is sexy. And I'm really spoiled because I'm one of a few people that have this great job, and I feel like it's a job a lot of people would love. So we do a lot having to do with succession planning for the company and active development planning for people to accelerate their readiness for some leadership roles, and that's really fun.
Awesome.
I know. And then along with that is also like strategic workforce planning, which is also insanely interesting. I'm learning more about the company than I thought I knew a lot. And now in this role, I'm just deep diving into a lot of different places. So another kind of like side dish to all of that kind of stuff is that I get to do a lot of kind of team effectiveness sorts of things. So team building. So I do workshops around StrengthsFinder assessments.
We love StrengthsFinder.
I know.
Here.
Well, who doesn't?
Yeah,
if you've ever done it, you should.
I know, it's so fun.
Yep. And then Myers-Briggs type indicator, so MBTI.
Cool.
And so just determining what makes sense for what group, just based on what they're going through at the time. So
that's a lot.
Yeah,
how do you manage all of that, Sarah?
It's fun, and that's the fun part about this job is that it's really project and gig based. And that's like right up my alley because it's really what I love to do.
Right. And you're so great with people. So tell me, so you're working with, when you're talking about the talent performance and you're getting these people ready for the next level, are you working one-on-one?
No, this is actually more with the leaders of those. They manage the people that we're talking about. So it's advising
got
them.
it.
Yep. So really kind of getting to the nitty gritty of like, okay, if you're telling me this person needs global experience, but they're in a regional role, what will provide that for them? So let's think hard about what that looks like and how can you commit to that in the next year?
Awesome.
So
That's
I'm kind of
cool.
so if you've ever taken StrengthsFinder, so activators in my top 5.
Oh yeah.
So I really like to take action and commitment.
I love it.
So it's kind of just part of who I am.
I love it. So what can we celebrate for you this week, Sarah?
This week, on Monday, I actually was able to go for the second time to the U of M Carlson School of Management and speak to a class of students
Awesome.
about coaching in corporate America. So
Which is
yes,
to
I know.
that.
So that was really, it was timing wise crazy because then I get to come here with you. So
Okay, so what was your leading message in that discussion?
it was because there's a lot of misconceptions about coaching. So leading in, it's really clearing up a little bit about that coaching is really about asking the right questions.
Absolutely.
Because it's the people you're working with have the answers.
Absolutely.
They do. And so they're not looking for advice.
Right.
Everyone tends to give advice, and that is not at all what coaching is. And so those were the sorts of exercises we did. And so really the leading in message that I had for the folks that were there was that it's not necessarily an arrangement where you sit and coach someone for an hour. It's really more about the coach approach in how you are with others. And so it's active listening and asking very open-ended, powerful questions to get to a better end state or end solution.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you said asking open-ended questions. You said powerful, which I love that word.
Yeah.
Give us an example of a question that you commonly ask when you're coaching somebody.
Okay. So powerful questions are usually 5 words or less, and that's the hard part. But you can remember that because, 5 fingers on your hand, and you bring them together and you have a punch, you have power. So try and stick with 5 words or less. I know. Use it on your own.
I'm going to. I do coaching with people.
The shorter, the better. And they usually lead with not why, but they lead with what or how.
Okay.
Why sometimes elicits a defensive answer because it sounds accusatory, or it can, right? Well, why'd you do that?
Right.
You think,
Totally.
I go back to my childhood. I'm like, oh man,
Right.
that's like being accused of something or being punished for something.
Inside your emotions immediately. When
Right.
you said
get
why,
defensive.
totally.
Why? And it, unfortunately, through corporate America, people have been kind of taught the 5 whys. And, that kind of
to get to
methodology
the bottom
of
the
it.
reason why they did something.
Right. Or to the root of
used that.
really, yeah, exactly. And that totally makes sense.
Right.
But when you're coaching someone, it can kind of end up closing them off sometimes because the answer can sometimes be, I don't know. And the reality is, what do you know? So powerful questions start with what usually, as in, what do you really want? Or what's important about that?
Right.
Because oftentimes the presenting problem or issue that's just the surface area. It takes 3 or 4 kind of different ways to ask to kind of get to the heart of what we need to work on.
Absolutely. And I've experienced that when I've coached individuals, that it takes time. And why do you think that happens? Like, I have my own speculation, but why does it take 3 to 4 questions for people to finally be comfortable being vulnerable with you?
Yeah. Oh, I love that question. That's a great question. I think they are used to just the casual conversation and kind of wanting to gloss over things that are hard to talk about.
Sure.
It's easier to say, oh, I wish I want to lose weight.
Right.
And so
I
then people
do.
go with that. Well, who doesn't, right? Like everybody does. So it's really a matter of saying, well, what's important about losing weight?
Right.
And then after listening well to that answer, well, why is that a priority right now? You know, what makes that important? Things like that. So it's really along the lines of what do you really want or what's stopping you? Yeah. Those are some great questions.
The best. I agree.
Yeah. What's getting in the way?
I'm loving this visual of the 5.
Mm-hmm. The 5 words.
Yeah, 5 words and power in your fist and don't ask why. I love that. Yeah. I'm learning something.
Yeah.
You're the best.
Oh,
cheers.
Well, hey, so are you.
Aww.
I'm just happy to be here. This is so
you.
exciting today. Good.
Okay, so you said something else, but I forgot. Mm-hmm. You said powerful, open-ended questions. What did you say right before that? I forgot.
What did I say? Powerful, open-ended questions. I don't really remember.
Oh, I don't either,
but it was good. Okay. Well, if it was good, hopefully people.
Yeah, we gotta rewind the tape right now. So we're gonna go on a party bus, Sarah, and they have to be alive.
Okay.
They don't necessarily have to be famous. Some people have picked non-famous people. Who's gonna come with us and drink our old vine red with us?
My husband Glenn. He's a riot. He is super funny.
Awesome.
Yep.
And he's got you into red wine. We got to bring him.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. I've got to go to the culprit, so that's cool. And my sister, she lives in Madison, Wisconsin, and we're best friends, and so she'd have to come with us too.
I love Madison.
I do too. It's a great place. It's so fun.
It is.
And then as far as I actually had to put some thought to this because I'm big into watching movies, and I'm big into like 80s movies and things. Well, I mean, comedy is really kind of my thing. So I'm like, who would be fun? So Jim Carrey would be fun.
Oh, he would be so
He'd be a
fun.
riot. He's kind of out there, but I love it.
Yeah.
Ben Stiller would be funny.
He would be fun too.
And Adam Sandler, my kids are watching a ton of Adam. They just happen to be on all the time. I don't know what's going on with that, but he's actually really good. He's a great, fun guy.
That would be one. We would laugh so hard. We would be getting an ab workout.
Totally. I know.
We'd be working out. So what's your favorite 80s movie then, if you like 80s movies?
I love 80s movies. Basically anything by John Hughes.
Okay.
Any John Hughes movies. And most people's minds go to kind of what we grew up with. So, 16 Candles or The Breakfast Club. And they're great. I've watched them for hours, believe me. But he's also made some other movies that people may not realize that are incredibly good. So he actually made Mr. Mom.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and Home Alone 1 and 2. So he was involved in those.
We just watched those over Christmas with my 8 and 10-year-old, and it was awesome. Like, I hadn't seen those movies forever. It was great.
They're so funny. I know.
They are.
And it's, you always kind of remember the standard scenes, where they're going through the house, and it's all like booby trapped and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's so much more in these movies that different points in your life, they mean different things.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, these were really deep. They were really deep movies that mean more to me now than they did even then. I liked them. I like them now. So
I love that. I wasn't really into movies until I met Dustin. My husband, his family is all into movies. So now we watch movies.
That's why it's kind of an escape.
Yeah, it's cool. I love it.
Yeah.
So you've been with Cargill coming up on 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How do you stay energized and engaged as you are now from day one?
Mm-hmm. I like this question. It's actually such a huge company that I'm learning new things all the time without even actively trying. And that's the great part of my job is that I'm just matched up based on availability and what my skill set is, and told to just run with it and go with it and tell me how it goes. So
that's empowering.
I think it is. It's empowering.
You
and
get
I
to
have
take
a lot of
ownership at a company with almost 200,000 employees.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
So to have trust from my manager and my manager's manager to do that is something that I relish, and I can't believe it. It's incredulous to me that I'm so lucky.
Oh, cheers
So,
to that, girl.
it is. It's great. And so not many people can stay with one company for that amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same company.
Yeah. So tell me, how many jobs have you held in those 15 years?
Probably officially 5 different titles, maybe.
Awesome.
So the first half of my career really was in recruiting when I was there. And then the second half was really more around talent management. So,
Yeah.
And I've worked for lots of different managers in that time. But
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Tell us about that transition. So I know a ton of recruiters that want to get into that talent management piece. How did you make that transition? Because sometimes it can be really tricky and people are kind of lost. Like,
Yes.
I want to make this. I'm in HR. How do I make that transition?
Yeah, it's true. And so I took a big risk. I actually took a project role that was literally a 1-year gig.
Oh.
It was very risky for me. But I'll just be perfectly candid. I was at the point, I had kind of reached the top of what I was going to be doing in the department. And I realized that, and I had a couple different thoughts, right? So I could keep going in recruiting outside of Cargill, or look for other things because the place is big. And I kept,
it's huge.
So people always encouraged me, look for something, something else that appeals to parts of you or whatever that is, and really work your network. And so that's one of the pieces of advice here, is that those relationships that you've had through time, that's your fan club. And so these are people.
Absolutely.
Yep. So what was great is within 5 years of recruiting for Cargill, I had hired for a lot of different people and partnered with a lot of HR people. And so they knew my brand and kind of my style. So I interviewed for a posted job that was not the project role. I interviewed for an analyst role. It was a senior talent analyst role in finance as opposed to IT that I had been recruiting for forever. So it was a different area, completely a different discipline and a different kind of job. And so I interviewed for the role. And during the course of the interview, they're like, you have to really love data. Like, you have to want to jump out of bed and want to deal with data. And
Look
I'm
at
like,
the spreadsheets.
yeah, I mean, all day. And I'm like, I don't like that. And so I'm sure the look on my face was
Right.
like, that's not me. And I think we know each other well. I mean, it was with someone that I'd worked with in the past that I had recruited for and things like that. So she pretty much turned over the sheet of paper and was like, okay, we know that this job is, and I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So I started getting my stuff together. I'm like, well, thanks though,
Absolutely.
And she said, well, don't leave yet. What is it about this job that you wanted? And so I was so pleased that, because she could have, this person could have been like, well, thanks for your time.
Yep.
And oh, well,
Yep.
and leaving a nice note. But she went on to say, what was it about this role that was appealing? Like, why did you apply to it? I know you read the description. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So it got me talking. So we were just talking like normal people, like we were at lunch or something.
Yeah.
And told her the things about it that were exciting. So figuring how I could leverage my background and how it translated. So I was forced to articulate how my experience would perhaps work in that role.
Right.
A month later, she actually emailed me and said, we're fast tracking a project role. Would you be interested in it? And so it was literally, it was kind of this hybrid between, it was more talent placement for finance because they were going through a big SAP implementation, which draws very heavily on finance individuals. They just have to be in those roles for the transition. So she thought that might be a great fit for me. And
I love that. So how did you get the courage to actually say, you're right, this job isn't what I'm looking for, but these are the aspects of why I feel like something similar would work?
I feel like in lack of courage, without courage, what you really need is commitment. So in the moment, I was committed to voicing what I want. And this was way before I ever had any kind of coaching training. So I now know what was happening then.
Yeah.
But I had nothing to lose at that point.
It's hard.
Yeah,
I get so many
hard.
people who won't. I'm like, all you need to do is speak up. And
it's hard.
Well, it is. And when I worked at Target Corporation, so my mom is deaf and my first language is American Sign Language, which is a very direct language. And my whole career, it finally dawned on me in corporate America, because people are always asking me, are you from the East Coast? Are you from New York? I'm like, okay, I've worked with people from New York. I'm not abrasive. And I'm not saying all New Yorkers are.
No.
However,
But I know what they're getting
very
at.
different
Very
than the Minneapolis, Midwest, Twin Cities, very passive aggressive, don't say what you want. So
Mm-hmm.
I am an anomaly. But that's because of the language that I learned. And I've never been afraid because I'm only here once, so why wouldn't I ask for what I want and have that discussion? But I meet so many people who don't stand up and have the courage to, and you said you had nothing to lose.
Yeah, I had nothing to lose. I still had a job. I was a recruiter. So if I don't get this job, that's okay. That's fine. I'll keep doing the good work that I'm doing.
Absolutely.
So along those lines with courage, it's really being your own best advocate.
Absolutely.
You can't hope and pray that
No.
someone's going to hand you something
No.
wonderful. You have to ask for it. So
you hope and pray you're going to take assignments like I did where I was asked, I think I wanted to go support finance at Target.
Yeah.
And I was in IT recruiting. And then my leader said, oh, no, you got to go do this support merchandising because we need to hire like 40 buyers in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's not really what I want to do.
Yeah.
So after I did that, though, then I stood up and was like, no, I've done everything you've asked. I've moved everywhere you wanted. Now it's Renee time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what's been fun about the people that I'm working with and coaching now, too, because they are typically mid-career high achievers.
Yep.
And getting kind of burnt out on the same old, and realizing what they do and don't like.
Right.
And that's a healthy thing. And everyone should experience that over and over in their life so that they can get more of what they want. So.
Absolutely.
Good for you.
So tell me, with the transition again, like so you spoke up and talked about what you wanted. You sought out positions internally. And then what did you find was the hardest going from recruiting to the talent management side from a skills or knowledge standpoint, Sarah?
Yeah. What was tough was in recruiting, I knew, it was pretty prescriptive on what expectations you had of you.
Sure.
And basically you answered to the hiring manager and the HR person, keeping them in the loop. So there was less stakeholder management in those roles because it was basically instance driven. Relationships go on, of course, over time. But what was tough with the talent management component was that everyone, and this might be a Cargill thing or it might be just kind of the way that sort of role is, but there are a lot of people interested in who it is that we're talking about. Everyone has a horse in the race. Everyone has an opinion, including the person at hand. And so it's always, I think what came to me over time was also playing the part of advocating for the person that we're talking about. Have you
Good
asked
for you.
but it took time.
Because I feel that way too. I've been in some of those meetings and I'm like,
they're speculating
whoa.
mad.
Yeah, and there's all these people and whoa, you're talking about someone's career.
Yeah, it is. And I think it stops people in their tracks when I ask, have you asked them? What do you know? And so how recently have you floated this idea past them? Because we certainly don't want to ambush anyone into thinking they're ramrodded into a role or a project or something like that because your name was brought up and the decision's been made, so here you go.
Right.
So that's never a good feeling for anybody.
No.
Even if it's flattering, it's not good.
Right.
Like
me, go support
right,
go
because you're so
merchandising.
Great. Yeah, you bet.
Oh,
you've done great. I know, and it's meant, and it's unfortunate because it's meant in the spirit of the good, and it's meant to be flattering, but it doesn't always land that way.
Right. Well, don't ask the question of me previous. Hey, you can go. We have jobs everywhere for a recruiter. Which function do you want to support? And then I said, and then sorry. Don't do that.
Right, exactly. Like, we're not going to do that.
Right.
Thanks
if they never asked me and they said, here, merch would be that transition would have been much different in my eyes and how I felt emotionally about it versus what actually transpired.
Exactly. You're so right. Oh,
yeah.
Man, it's true.
So, Sarah, what advice do you have for hiring leaders who are struggling in this competitive market to find talent? I mean, I was on the phone with somebody. We have a senior software developer position we're trying to find right now, and we have had the lowest response rate. I mean, we're at 10%. Normally, we're 30% when we reach out. And I finally talked to someone, and he's like, Renee, it's extreme negative unemployment in the senior software development space in the Twin Cities.
It's so hot.
So what do you recommend hiring leaders to do?
I recommend that it is straight up all hands on deck. People need to feel comfortable with social media and with their own networks to let it be known that there's an incredible role in their team.
Absolutely.
And to enlist their team members to do the same. It's an exponential effect when, because it used to be that's the recruiter's job. You post and pray and you'll get applicants. And just the real problem is coming, whittling down all this pile of applicants. And
right.
It's the complete opposite now.
Right.
You're not just getting people applying. So it's a matter of that, and then also really enlisting a sourcing component like you provide too. So it's it takes more time. Be patient. Also have a flexible state of mind. I mean, there are requirements for every job, but
Absolutely.
Please loosen those up.
Right.
I mean, unless they're really necessary, open your mind because you're
I'm the
missing
same.
out.
Yep. And I always tell people, I'm like, if you're 100% fit for the job, you're going to be bored.
Yeah.
I like to look for
true.
people around that 70 to 75% fit.
Yeah.
And then they can grow and they can stretch a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And another tactic that I recommend, or I ask all of my clients because of the competitiveness of the market, I ask the hiring leader, I always say, if I get somebody who might want to hear more information but's not ready to throw their name in the hat, would you please open up your calendar for a 15-minute exploratory conversation?
Yeah.
We use that, and I swear 99% of the time the candidate throws their name in the hat.
Absolutely.
It's
it
so
just
powerful.
Takes that much.
And it's 15. Hey, do you want to talk to the VP of software development? I can arrange that.
Yes.
15 minutes.
That personal connection
Absolutely.
goes a long way. You're so right. That's such a great tactic. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So those are the things that I would recommend.
So what's your favorite question to ask in an interview?
It's always what draws you to the job. What was it about the posting or the company? That's kind of standard though. I feel like most people's.
That's a good question though, because then people need to do their research.
They do.
And
they do. They're forced to have a good answer there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true. So there's that. And then I usually follow that up with, what do you hope this role will get you?
Oh, I like that.
For the same reason you mentioned, so if it's a bit of a stretch role, it's like, what I hope to gain is insight into a different industry. They don't need to have a next title in mind, but it's really articulating what it is that they want to continue to get stronger in.
Great question.
That's fun for me to ask.
Sarah. Now you have a side hustle. You have a coaching business.
I do.
Tell us about it.
I do. It's called Your Evolution Coaching.
Ooh, I love the word evolution.
Yeah, evolution, and that's exactly it. So most people that I work with are mid-career and have been high achievers, and it's just straight up time to evolve. There's something going on in their life that's making them itch or want to do something else. And most people step into it as in like, hey, I need to quit my job and do something else. It's usually career coaching. I use a different approach than I'm told most do, because most people say, okay, get your resume to me and let's go for it. And let's get your LinkedIn up to snuff and get going. There's a little bit more to that. It's not always, hey, quit this job and get a new one.
Right. No.
I would say in the time that I've been doing this, I'd say maybe half the people that I have started with coaching in that realm have actually left their employer. Most of the time they're quitting their boss and getting a new gig within their company, even smaller companies. And so they haven't necessarily had to quit their employer, but they're definitely finding something that's more fulfilling for them.
Awesome.
So that's
I love
the way
that.
that it's going.
What tips do you have for job seekers to stand out amongst the competition?
I would say so in two different scenarios. So in terms of just seeking a new job, it's actually, like you mentioned a little earlier, being vulnerable and telling people that what it is that they're looking for. So don't dump on your current job. I mean, I really coach people heavily on that, or I should say I advise heavily on that. I'm like, please have aspirational language when you're telling people about what you're looking to do. Because you can't, even if it's true that you're in a horrible situation, that's what sticks with people's minds no matter who you're talking about. So
And then you're in the recycle bin.
You're right on.
You're in
it's
the decline bin.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, gosh, this person sounds like they're never happy and just a really negative person. You don't want that because that's not true. You're in a bad situation.
Right.
For some. So it's really a matter of telling anyone and everyone about what you're looking to do differently. So you never know what relationship could be a spark for a new opportunity.
Absolutely. You and I are the same. We are the same. Yeah, I think I've told this story before. I told that to I tell it to everyone. Tell everyone you know. Yeah. And this gal, her friend was the neighbor of a CFO and got hired at that company. Oh. And yeah, totally. I would never know who your neighbors are, Sarah, but if I told you, then you'd be like, oh, I know so-and-so who's hiring for this, and voila, magic happens. True. It just does. And it just takes saying what you want. I mean, and people are, when you tell people that, they innately want to help you. I know. And I stay away from telling people that don't put it in the sense that you need help. It's actually, hey, I'm just letting you know what I'm up to. Yeah. Because people always say, hey, how's your job? That's usually small talk, how it happens. And just to put the statement out there in terms of, you know what, I'm looking for something new and it looks like this. Have those sorts of things ready. Absolutely. They always say, I know a guy or I know someone. I know. Or have you tried whatever? Yep. I love it. It's just innate. People want to help. Exactly. So Sarah, what's the best advice you've ever received? The best advice I have ever received was that anecdote of, the anecdote to fear is commitment. Even if it's true. And that actually came from Rick Tamlin. He was actually like my guru with coaching, and because he said this is really messy. There's no prescriptive way to do coaching. It's going to evolve in every conversation you have. But if you're committed to that person with you, good things can happen. Absolutely. And that's been true with anything. So if you're nervous or feel not confident about something that you're taking on for the first time, not everyone knows that this is the first time for you. Right. They don't need to know either. They don't need to know. So just go for it and commit. And even if it's not perfect or how you think it's going to turn out, it's still better than you would ever thought. So absolutely. Cheers to that. Right. Yeah. I love that. These make a great noise when we do that. Mm-hmm. So. Riedel, I might have to go to Germany and get a tour of the factory. So what's the best advice you can give to our listeners? I mean, you've given so many value bombs, Sarah. People are going to be taking notes. Don't take notes in the car if you're driving to work. Best advice? Don't wait with anything. And that doesn't even mean like within your career. This is even just in conversations that you feel should happen. Mm-hmm. Go first. Go ahead and, if something just isn't right with someone or you're sensing a little something, go ahead and ask. I know. Because the worst that can happen is that someone doesn't respond. Right. Just be the one. Just go first. Right. I love it. Yeah. Don't wait. You know what? Yeah. So this is totally off topic, but you saying that, we just watched the movie about Fred Rogers. Yes. And he was a magnificent coach, wasn't he? He would just ask questions and had that open, compassionate heart that just made me think of that, and with the fact that you love movies. Yeah, I do. Awesome. That was an excellent movie, and everybody cries during that movie. Oh my God, I cried moving. 3 times. Yeah, absolutely. And it couldn't have been a better time for my kids to watch it too. It is. And I need to see it again. I need to see that multiple times just because I didn't realize what impact that person had on an entire generation. Right. Including myself. So Me too. I was a huge fan. Me too. Awesome. Okay, we're on to the lightning round. Okay. This is fast. Okay. I'm going to ask questions fast. You give fast responses. Ready? Okay. What is the first word that comes to mind when thinking of searching for a new job? Power. Have you ever gotten a job through someone you know? Yes. Favorite question to ask when networking? What brings you here? Do you practice for interviews? Yes. Have you ever been fired? Yes. Me too. All right. And if you haven't, you're doing something wrong. Yes, I have. What's a job you wanted but didn't get?
a job I wanted that I didn't get was actually the team leader for the recruiting team that I was on at Cargill.
Okay. What site would you go to if you were looking for a new job?
Like website? LinkedIn.
What's your favorite thing about your career?
Ooh. Autonomy and freedom.
Cheers to that. You nailed it, girl.
I got the lightning round down. Yay.
So where can people find you?
Through LinkedIn. Of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't have my own profile up to snuff, right? That'd be really terrible.
And
so
she has a beautiful picture on there. She does look the same as she does in person. I always find it funny when people are like, you look just like your photo. I'm like, well, isn't that what it's all about?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want 10 years and 20 pounds ago on your LinkedIn picture. They're like, your daughter probably looks like this. It's like, well, no. Yeah, so I have a LinkedIn account, and then I also have, obviously, my website for coaching, which is yourevolutioncoaching.net.
Perfect.
Yep.
And we have listeners worldwide. So thank you to all of the listeners. If you like this, please rate it on iTunes, share it with all of your friends. And I have been identified by LinkedIn as a pro. So if you need coaching or resume writing, go to careersandcocktails.com to learn more. You can also find out where to purchase my book, I Hate Mondays. And for all of you hiring leaders who want the secrets to finding the best talent, you can download my free guide there as well. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, Renee.